It's a crossover.
Yes, it's one of those.
Oh no, not one of those.
Yeah, but mainly because like last time we did one of these, I had Jess and Sebastian and John read the comic beforehand, but Sebastian lost it. We're not going to go there right now.
Hey, I got you another one.
You know, it's like, when I brought up
he
this,
bought a copy.
That's
yeah,
right.
when I brought up this subject, it's like John told me like, you know what, you might want to hold off on this because Jess and Sebastian might actually have something to say about this.
Yeah. Might.
What is the subject? Star Wars.
Star Wars. I mean wars.
Yes. Yet again. Yeah, no, it's like I got to
the
take
greatest marketing empire in the galaxy.
Ever created.
Yes, and I take a bit couple minutes at the beginning to talk about like how, you know, if it wasn't for Star Wars, you probably wouldn't have this podcast to begin with.
Actually, Star Wars, the film that both changed and robbed us of our lives forever.
Yes.
Changed our lives and subsequently robbed us of
I
them.
could have been president, but
Have you
no.
ever seen that chart of how Star Wars influenced all of movie making?
There's a chart?
There is. There's a line chart.
Somebody had a.
How is
There's
that?
a timeline chart about how.
Oh, see, that's another person who was in his basement, had more time than he didn't have no life. He had to create a chart.
But it's true. I mean,
It
most
is.
of
It is.
like
Everything.
Pixar gets its roots from Lucasfilm.
How many movies have used THX technology and
Wait.
cinema?
It wasn't
Come
the
on.
technology. It was the influence on society.
He's like,
So you see, people, I don't even need to talk about Star Wars comics to give you an excuse to go off. It's like, I just read Star Wars, and these guys just go from there.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, but you see, for me, it's like Star Wars was actually the thing that got me into comics in the first place because, see, back in the days when I was reading like every single thing that came out from Star Wars, it's like I was reading like Kevin Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, and it started off with like this stuff about like, oh, Coruscant was like this war-torn battleground. Oh no, the Emperor had come back. Holy crap! And did I miss something here? And then I also found out like the Star Wars Encyclopedia also made references to this series called Dark Empire, which basically involved the Emperor Palpatine coming back to life
As a clone, right?
as a clone,
Of course.
and enlisting Luke Skywalker as his apprentice in order to
Never liked that storyline. I'm sorry.
Now, to be honest, how could that really happen? Because Luke faced the Emperor and basically told him to stuff himself, and Vader actually helped in the job. So how could Luke suddenly say, "Oh, you know what? That's a good idea now"? I mean, come on. I mean, realistically speaking, within the Star Wars,
You know what, Sebastian?
Mythos?
That's a very good question.
I thought
and
so.
you know what?
Now that you've
It's
asked
like,
that.
on one hand, it's like this series does answer that, but that also it not just answers that, but sidesteps the question as well.
How does it answer?
The essence of the dark side of the Force.
I'm going to pin you to the wall on this one. How does it answer and sidestep the question?
Because see, it starts off with Han and Leia trying to rescue Luke and Lando after they've crash landed on Coruscant, and Luke eventually being captured by the Emperor and enlisted to help him conquer the universe. So he's saying they're showing him all the stuff that his dad had, all the power and presence that his dad had to offer. It's like saying, you want this as well? Eh?
But his dad ultimately was a miserable bastard, and that's what turned him from the dark side to the light side. Yeah. He realized that he could be something better than the Emperor's footstool.
Yeah, on the one hand, like Luke, but the one reason Luke says he does this, it's basically because like, hey, you know what? I can go and learn the secrets. The Emperor says like, hey, you can learn the secrets of the dark side and eventually learn how to defeat me as well. And that's eventually why Luke goes over to the dark side. But at the same time, he's also like feeding the Republic information as well. It's on one hand, I read this when I was like 14, 15 years old. And it's like it just rocked my world. Like Luke going over to the dark side. It's like the Empire come back and taking on the Republic.
To me, Luke went through a period in Empire Strikes Back where he was very close to going the dark side. But I thought after Jedi he was solid. I thought after Return of the Jedi he was pretty much fixed.
I'll tell you one thing that's fascinating about this is that if you're going to tempt Luke at any point, it's when the Empire has only just lost its battle. Not later on when they're completely weakened, but where there's still a significant amount of...
But the thing is when the second Death Star blew up, the Empire hadn't really fallen apart.
Exactly. That's
there were still remnants of the Imperial Navy and all that.
Like,
remnants.
I could just
most of the Imperial Navy.
Basically, Dark Emperor takes the point where parts of the Empire basically staged a stunning attack on Coruscant, basically taking the capital of the galaxy back from the Republic, It's like now it's a free for all. Who's got control of what?
Well, Jedi sort of play the whole thing like a big chess game. Once you knock out the Emperor, the game is over.
Exactly.
There's still lots of pawns and lots of bishops and whatnot on the board, but you knocked out the king, so the game's over.
Yeah, but the thing is, I
I was
think
found that a little bit implausible.
the thing is like going back and rereading this Dark Empire now, I realize like you don't actually get a whole lot of experience like Luke into a lot of dark side stuff. You know, like we're told that he is like leading the Imperial fleet against the rest of the galaxy, but you know, like most of the time we're also told he's also like feeding, like setting things up so that the Republic also has its own ways to take out the Empire, to survive against this kind of stuff. Like when the Empire literally just it's world devastators, like these living factories which basically can suck up any material and make it into its own fighters against the Mon Calamari homeworld. Like he's also like
Mon Calamari are the fish people, right?
Admiral Akbar, yeah.
Yeah. It's a trap.
Yes.
They're the galaxy's engineers.
But
more like squid people.
Yeah, in the book's main feeling is that it doesn't actually
Whatever.
show
betas.
Luke doing any real dark side stuff at all. I mean, he's like it says he's gone over to the dark side, but he's not actually choking bitches like Vader did. You know?
That just seems wildly inconsistent with the Luke that I've seen from Return of the Jedi. It just seems very out of character.
Yeah,
I don't care how tempted Luke would never. He was willing to give his own life rather than go to the dark side. Nothing could turn him away from that. I don't.
But the thing is, I think what also gets me at the end is basically after, because this is one of the few Star Wars stories where Leia actually gets a strong role. Where she winds up pulling Luke's ass out of the fire at the end of the story here.
She did at the end of Empire too. So
yeah,
she's always there for ass pulling.
Yes. Yeah, but in this case, like she basically like she basically pulls Luke away from the dark side, and he basically says that he wanted to go experience this. Like he wanted to know why his dad made this choice in the first place. What was it about the dark side that compelled Vader to go over there in the first place? Now, granted, this is made before the prequel trilogy, so while we know exact specifics, there's something about like Luke doesn't know like exactly why his dad went over the dark side, so he wants to know what was it about this that held that appeal.
Cookies.
Yeah, you're reading my
John,
shirt right now.
Hey, John, that's what turned you to the dark side. Okay, it didn't work for Vader.
I'm really easy.
Yeah.
He's like, fresh cookies.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that kind of thing right there. Like the son wanting to know why his dad, why his dad went over there in the first place. That kind of gets you right there. I mean, granted, like I'm reading this now, and it's like, to be honest, it holds up a little better than I was expecting. Like I was expecting to read this and think, God, why did I like this in the first place? But like, there's still like awesome in here that entertains. Like especially the art by Cam Kennedy, which doesn't go for the whole photorealistic experience like a lot of like other stuff goes for these days, but more just like I'm just gonna draw these characters in my style and see where it goes, and it works really well. Granted, some people are like, well, like the style and the coloring and just go, this looks kind of weird. But
just pass it around, see how weird it is.
Yeah.
That's just too weird. No, I can't just look at it.
When was this produced? I'm sorry.
This is back in.
This is porn.
I believe around 91.
Just turn to the other page. There you go.
Oh, sorry.
So that's not too far off from the movie's production. So
Yeah.
I mean, well, okay.
Well,
almost 10 years.
Yes.
Actually, but,
Just
Over a
bit.
decade.
well,
Yeah, but
83 was Return of the Jedi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, not almost a decade.
Yeah.
But basically, like it also stands as the most influential of Dark Horse's, because Dark Horse has the Star Wars license, and they've done lots and lots of Star Wars comics. But this is probably the most influential because it did the Luke goes over to the dark side story before anyone else could do it, and I kind of sealed off that particular story avenue before anyone else could go for it.
Well, Jason, what are some of the other comics you got of Star Wars besides Dark Empire?
Okay. Well, I also want to say that Dark Empire also spawned a sequel and a 2-part follow-up. It's basically, like, it's like, but those were like, well, Dark Empire 2 was well made enough to be enjoyable. The follow-up Empire's End, which basically was made to tie up all the loose ends that Dark Empire 2 left hanging, where it's just kind of like, yeah. But okay, but the other stuff I've done, well, one of the things that Dark Horse also did was especially go into the backstory of the history of the Jedi. Basically, like, well, what were the Jedi doing before episodes 4, 5, and 6? And one of those was explored in the Tales of the Jedi series. Now, more than anything else, Tales of the Jedi is probably notable these days for carving out the time period in which Knights of the Old Republic, the video game, existed in. This is like 4,000 years before the events of Episode 4. And to be honest, like that kind of excuses their failings more than anything else. Because Tales of the Jedi basically tells two stories: stories of Ula Kildroma and his buddies as they try go on like a nice adventure, like to help out this world Onderon, which is basically being attacked.
Did you say Alderaan?
Onderon.
Oh, Onderon. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Alderaan. I'm like, that's Leia's planet. Come on.
Yeah, basically they're being attacked by these fugitives who have these criminals who've been turned out loose in the wilderness and just basically come back in order to attack the main city. Shows that the main city has actually been under secret Sith rule for the past 100 years or so.
Okay.
And so they've got to find a way to take them out in order to bring peace to the city. Then you've also got the story of Nomi Sunrider, who is her husband was cut down in a trip to bring these Jedi crystals to her husband's master.
Okay, now is this the crystal thing? Is that the Kyber crystal?
Oh, basically it's
because that was mentioned in Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
No, these are just like where crystals used to make the lightsabers.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, so she's basically she doesn't want to have anything to do with this Jedi thing after her husband was cut down, but then she eventually learns that, hey, you know what? I got to adapt to the Jedi way in order to save my daughter, save my Jedi master, everything.
Gotcha.
There, but then you get to the later series, which is Dark Lords of the Sith, which actually tells the story of Exar Kun, one of the characters from Kevin Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy, and also Ula Keldroma's fall to the dark side. Now, on one hand, like when I was young, I really liked this because it's like light side Jedis fall into the dark side. Ooh, that's cool. That's forbidden stuff.
Yeah.
Then I read this today, and I can see the the story they wanted to tell
versus
but,
what they
what they actually told. Not so much, because it's like one thing with the dark side though. I get the feeling this is one of the things where when you're going to the dark side, you can't actually see what you're doing. You're making these choices, but these choices you make, like they're kind of like, I'm doing this for the right reasons, but it's
right.
like
they're ambiguously.
Well,
evil.
that's the whole thing with Anakin Skywalker in the prequel trilogy movies.
Yeah.
Was that he turned to the dark side, but he did it for what, in his opinion, were the right reasons. He wanted to protect the woman he loved. He wanted to protect his unborn child, or children in this case. So he did the wrong thing for the right reasons. His heart was in the right place. His head wasn't. So he made a Faustian bargain with Satan, who's the emperor, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I hate to say falling to the dark side is really it's like the oldest tale in the book. It's good turning to evil is not really anything new. The only real twist that Star Wars puts on it is like lightsabers and cool powers.
Right. Yeah, and with the Tales of the Jedi story with Exar Kun and Ula Keldroma, Exar Kun was basically forced to the dark side because he has got this curiosity for what the Sith were up to, and basically leads him to the planet of Korriban under the guidance of this Sith spirits Freedon Nan. And basically, he's forced to turn to the dark side under Nad's discretion, and Keldroma is basically forced to the dark side under the Sith poison these Sith warlords are making them take in order after he tries to learn the secrets of the Sith in order to help the Republic. Yeah, and
as they say, Sith happens.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that just died.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving now.
And then it just goes from there because basically as his Jedi buddies try to rescue him from his failed attempt to understand the secrets of the Sith, they realize that he's got to lead his own life, and we're just going to leave him there and like see how things go. And just like that's kind of like no, it's like he's going to like kill everyone if you leave him like this. You got to he's gone over to the dark side. You got to go ahead, pull him out, and just give him like the forced intervention type stuff,
Forced intervention.
Yes.
On the next episode of Intervention.
Yeah, it's like that kind of thing, and then you get to the third volume, which is the Sith War, and it just kind of goes downhill from there.
It just seems to me though that the Star Wars prequels, the Star Wars comics, they all essentially tell variations of the same story: darkness redeemed by good. Good redeeming darkness. I mean, that's essentially the running theme of all of Star Wars, back from Episode 4 to the prequels to the Clone Wars, all of it. It's essentially good. It's the simplest tale of good versus evil and good redeeming evil. That evil can be redeemed in this case. I kind of like that. That's a very Christian theme too.
Mm-hmm.
All the crappy stuff Darth Vader's done at the end, he says a few nice words and he's redeemed. So,
yeah, and that's the kind of thing. Basically, it's Star Wars. Like evil is very done in very black and white terms. Like there's light side and the dark
side, right?
And there's really no middle ground right there.
Right.
I mean, but as far as actually middle ground goes, I mean, like the closest you can get is the stories told by John Ostrander. Ostrander, he's a veteran comics writer who's best known for his work in the 80s with the series Grimjack and DC's Suicide Squad series. I don't know the exact reasons why he came to Star Wars. Could be just like he was looking for a paycheck, but he actually, but he's actually done some really good stuff with the series over the years. And starting with his work on the Clone Wars series. I mean, he created this one character called Quinlan Voss, and his job, and he was told by the Jedi Council at the time, like, okay, we're gonna, because you've got kind of a checkered past, we're gonna have you infiltrate the side of the Clone Wars and find out what, and basically be our spy among them. That doesn't go so well because the further you go into the series, like his story basically shows you how you do a fall to the dark side. I mean, I've only read like the first 5 volumes of the Clone Wars series. After reading John Ostrander stuff, I want to read more because it's interesting because as Quinlan Voss basically works onto the dark side, he meets up with Count Dooku, all the pivotal characters of the Clone Wars, and he's tempted because at one point he's brought before some of his people of his old order, and he finds out that the person who was overseeing them basically ordered the death of his parents, and Dooku is basically yes, go and kill them because they deserve death because they killed your parents, and he kills them because that's justice right there. But really, I mean,
it's revenge, not justice.
Yes, and that's the kind of more ambiguity that you want from falling to the dark side.
Well, it's again, I go back to the prequels and all the other stories. You had Anakin killing Count Dooku. Now, was it revenge or was it just murder? I mean, or was it just? In his opinion, it was justice. But then after he did it, he was like, "Whoa, wait a minute!" You have that's one of the lessons of falling to the dark side. What feels right is not always necessarily right. You have to go with a higher sensibility.
He was influenced by the Emperor.
Well, of course,
That's why he did it. He was.
Yeah, the Emperor was clouding everything.
Yes. And that's one of the things I like about everything. And I gotta admit, that's one thing I like about the portrayal of Palpatine in the Clone Wars series, because basically, when you see him in the series, he's just basically the head of the Republic. I mean, he's just basically doing the right thing. There's no hint at all that he's Darth Sidious or anything.
He positioned himself as the
he's a classic manipulator.
Yeah. That's
behind the scenes, working the ropes and all that.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the fun things I like about the Dark Horse's Clone Wars series, because you got the Jedi. The Jedi Council is working to fight the Separatist movement because they're led by Count Dooku, so they're obviously of the dark side.
Naturally,
but they don't actually stop to think it. You know what does they don't actually stop to think outside of the box here. They don't stop to think about who's running Count Dooku? Does the Republic actually need to be saved? Is there actually more to hear than what's going on? That's a nice moral push for the series.
I'm kind of curious. This is a little bit it's on topic, but it's off topic. The new Star Wars live action show that they've supposedly been prepping for the last 5 years now. Whenever that rolls around, I wonder. Lucas has said for the record that it's going to appear. It's going to take place between the time of Episode 4. Oh no, excuse me. Episode 3 and Episode 4. The 20-year span between the end of the Clone Wars and the beginning of Luke and all that. But now, is it going to focus more on the Jedi whole thing, or is it going to focus more on a day in the life of Imperial officers aboard us? I mean, there's bad droids.
That kind of thing is probably going to focus more on it's probably going to focus more on the Jedi or rebellion side of it.
Well, it's kind of cool. In the original Star Wars trilogy, you had Han Solo, who was the agnostic surrogate. Because he was not a believer in the Force, he didn't believe in Jedi and all that. But he's like the audience in a way. He's cynical, he's doubtful, he doesn't believe in supernatural powers. In the prequel trilogy, you don't have a character like that. Everyone kind of is down with the Force and believes everything the Jedi say, and I found that kind of sad in a way. And the comics I've read are kind of more of the same in that everybody's a believer in this universe. I'd like to see more of the Han Solo doubter, agnostic side of the Star Wars universe represented, because there's got to be people who don't believe in this stuff.
in the prequel trilogy, they were basically like, the Jedi were commonplace.
Right.
And then after Palpatine took over, then he just kind of exterminated the Jedi Order. So they kind of like started becoming part of myth.
He also tarnished their reputation too. So they were not thought of as galaxy's great heroes. They were thought of as like, oh, this long forgotten thing, from 20 years ago. Ancient religion, right? So I mean, they had their reputation slandered a bit, and that. But I kind of like the fact that Han Solo he is sort of like the audience in a way. He's a non-believer in a believer's universe, and I think this new show or new incarnations of Star Wars, whatever they may be, should have a little bit more of that. They should have more of the common man in the Star Wars or the common person in the Star Wars universe. I would like to see something more like that. I think it gets kind of old seeing kind of holier than thou people who all have magic powers and they all like twirl around with lightsabers. That's all very well for a climax or like the big setup, but when that's like the beginning of your story, you don't have many places to go up from there. I like to see the story of a regular person, a non-believer, an everyday schmo living in this universe who comes into this universe and sees it anew. I don't get that when I read any of the... I used to read some of the Star Wars books. I read, way back to Splinter of the Mind's Eye in 1978. I read the Heir to the Empire
you're
trilogy.
old, aren't you?
I'm very old. I'm older than dirt, and there's like fossils in my turd somewhere. But to make a long story short, it's just how the new stuff doesn't have that doubtful, cynical, non-believer element going for it. It's all like a universe of people who crap marble. It's like this universe of it's a universe of people who are all supernatural, and I just don't find that relatable or as interesting as like Han Solo taking a look into this universe or someone like him.
Then Sebastian, like I said, I showed this before this podcast, but you probably would get into Legacy, because basically Legacy is
Legacy would be that's right, the 100 years post
Return of the Jedi.
Post Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah, Legacy is basically what the Star Wars series that Ostrander started writing after he did the Clone Wars series.
Now this deals with Luke's drug-addled grandson.
Yes.
That is a step in the right direction.
Because this basically deals with like Luke's drug-addled grandson, Cade Skywalker, and his exploits in the universe after the Sith have taken it over. Now, mind you, this time period, the Sith have basically formed their own order. You got one Sith who leads them all, and many other Sith who are basically following him in his footsteps.
Yeah, the whole the whole taking over the galaxy with two apprentice and a master did seem kind of stupid, didn't it?
Yeah,
two people to rule them all.
Yeah, basically this series kind of takes the familiar Star Wars elements, I mean the Jedi, the Sith, the Empire, the Republic, and it's got all those familiar elements. It's even got a princess as well, only she's a princess of the Empire. But it reconfigures them in different elements. I mean, basically the Republic is on the run. The Sith is basically the is basically taking over the galaxy. The Empire is the opposing factor to the Sith, because they've actually...
The Empire opposes the Sith?
Yeah, the Empire opposes the Sith, because
they're not ruled by the Sith.
No,
well, that's a twist.
Yeah, the ruler of the Empire's ruler, Rohan Fel, basically hates what the Sith stand for, basically wants to have them exterminated.
So are the Empire essentially good in this incarnation?
No.
Not good, but they are the ones you turn to when you're...
They're the enemy's enemy.
Interesting.
You could forge an alliance about them. They're probably more about profit and things like that.
So this is one of those.
Power.
This is a case of
so they're Ferengis.
The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, now I understand.
Yeah, and Luke's grandson Cade, he started off as a good like following the good Jedi, like following his dad, but after his dad was killed after the
Cade was a Jedi.
Yeah, he was, but then he was his dad was killed after the exodus of the Jedi from their academy. He kind of like lost kind of with them and basically joined up with a bunch of space pirates after he was rescued.
Okay, again, for the slow among us, such as myself, the exodus from the Jedi Academy, the Jedi were forced to leave the new academy
after the Sith attacked them.
Oh, okay,
Sith
gotcha.
basically came at them in force and basically forced them out.
So Sith happened again.
Yes. And Cade, basically after he lost contact with the rest of the Jedi, he just basically came out his own like a bounty hunter and just basically went out in business for himself, just doing whatever he wanted in order to survive. They
have that the novel I read recently, a year or so ago. I guess it seems recent. It's kind of like a Vader Year One novel. What was it called? Dark Lord Rising, I think it was. That was actually a pretty decent book. It chronicled Anakin's first year as Darth Vader, and they had a group of Jedi who had gone underground, who were escaped the Purge, and some of them kind of become rogue. They fell in with smugglers and such like that. They kind of had to fit in with the underground element to get by, and this kind of ties into that as well.
Yeah.
I like that. That was a good book, by the way. One of the better nonfiction, or not nonfiction. I say nonfiction.
Yeah.
Okay, better non.
I think
expanded universe.
I think
Universe.
you're getting
Thank
a little
you.
too deep into the.
Did I mention I'm going on like an hour and a half of sleep here? So yeah, okay.
No problem, sir.
Anyway, expanded universe Star Wars. One of the better expanded universe novels I've read, and I've read maybe around 5 or 6 of them, 7 maybe at most.
I've lost track how many I've read.
Allison's read them all too, and she could quote them verbatim. But I lost track after the Heir to the Empire series was decent, but I thought it essentially was a big rehash. It just didn't have anything really new to it. Even Lando running another mining operation, I was like, God, can we think of anything else for him to do? He just seems to have a knack for mining facilities. Things like that. It just seemed kind of like a big rehash. They had another big space battle, yada yada. The whole turning to the dark side and being redeemed again, that's been done. I just want to see a Star Wars story that doesn't begin with like people who are automatically empowered with the Force. It'd be kind of neat to go back to the early Star Wars, Episode 4 Star Wars, how the Force crept into the story, but wasn't there from the very beginning. I'm like, Episode 4, you watch it, and it's a ship battle. You have droids escaping an escape pod. They find Luke. They go to the desert. Halfway through the movie, they meet Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he starts to tell them about the Force. And you're like, oh, this is interesting. But in the new Star Wars incarnations, the Force is accepted as commonplace everywhere you go. There are no non-believers. And I kind of miss that. The cynics, the doubters, the Han Solos, the whatnot. The people who don't have the magic powers and, jump 30 feet in the air.
Is there an explanation for that in that graphic novel you're holding?
Oh, there we go.
Well, I don't know. You're not going to find out a legacy because it's basically about like Cade just basically like trying to rebel against both the influences of like the light side and the dark side.
No.
He doesn't want to be ruled by either. He just wants to be his own man and not focus on like just like the responsibilities of either thing.
That sounds like a good start to Sebastian's.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it sounds like he sounds like me. He wants to get away from that whole part of the Star Wars universe where everybody twirls with lightsabers.
Yeah, the main problem with
get
Legacy,
yourself a Wookiee, kid. No.
Yeah, the main problem with Legacy, basically majority of John Ostrander's running with the universe. He's really good at like telling you these ideas, but actually like as far as actually like showing them, like not so much. I mean, basically like, you're kind of like in the end you kind of you see the point that he's getting at, and you kind of wish he had a bit more subtlety in getting there. But like the ideas he's going for are very interesting. That you're willing to put up with that when you get to the end. I mean, it's like I'm up to volume 6 right now, and I've been enjoying it so far.
All right.
So it's like I'd recommend at least checking out the first volume, if only see if it's for you. But like for stuff that doesn't involve the Force,
Yeah.
well, let's see. We got Crimson Empire, which is basically the story of those red guys in the red uniforms that you see in Return of the Jedi,
the ones that Yoda took out with one little Force push. Yeah, those guys. Huh?
Well, that wasn't Return of the Jedi,
or not Revenge of the Sith. Excuse me.
Revenge of the Sith.
But like the Palpatine's Imperial Guard,
Yes.
Well, it's like Crimson Empire tells the backstory apparently, and would you be surprised to learn that they were trained on a planet with the harshest living conditions, forced to kill the people they've trained with in order to attain their guard, their position as guard of the.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the guard of Palpatine. Yeah, it's like it's one of those things. Like, yeah, it's like
I can just see that. Is there a good benefits package to this?
Yes.
Paid vacation an option?
Good retirement.
Yeah. Permanent retirement.
You won't be able to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Crimson Empire tells the story of Kir Kanos, like one of Palpatine's loyal Imperial guards, who is basically
lapdog.
Yeah, it's like one of he basically learns of one of the other Imperial guards' plot to like poison Palpatine's clones from Dark Empire, and you want to like why are they referring to like some of the Star Wars comics here? Well, because this is written by Mike Richardson and Randy Stradley. Yeah,
and they would be
Yeah, you see, like you're probably not going to know these guys, but they are Richardson and Stradley are basically known as the founders of Dark Horse Comics.
Oh, okay,
cool.
Yeah.
Aha. Shows my comic ignorance right there.
Yeah, and well, Stradley though is also Richardson is basically the publisher of Dark Horse for all these years. Stradley's been their creative director and also the writer of the original Dark Aliens vs. Predators series as well.
Oh, the one that started the whole thing.
Yes.
Damn them all to hell.
Yeah, and let me tell you, like they approached the writing of Crimson Empire, both series 1 and 2, like enthusiastic fanboys. I mean, it's like you just tell them like they're just like they got the story of like the Imperial Guards to tell them. They just go at it like just like everything you expect from these kind of things. That they go for that. I mean, like I got Kier Kraus team up with these like this pocket of rebellion, pocket of Imperial Republic rebels trying to expunge the Empire from their sector, and you got the whole moral conflict right there.
Okay.
Like and you even bring in like the Republic super starter story, Lusan Kaya, which I haven't even heard of since this.
The who, what, where? What was his name?
Yeah, the Republic super starter story. They were
No, you said Lu something. What was that?
Lusan Kaya.
Oh, that.
Yeah, it's like if you've read as many expanded universe novels as I have, it'll sound familiar to you. But it's also one of those things that like, why would they? You wish they'd picked up on earlier, but.
So you have completely lost count of how many expanded universe Star Wars novels you've read.
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
I've read pretty much everything up to the second round of New Jedi Order novels.
Now Lucas insists that all these are canon. I find that kind of BS because I mean honestly, because the novels alone contradict each other left and right. I'm sure.
Actually, no.
Splinter of the Mind's Eye does.
Well, yeah, that's because I was doing before. Basically, the modern age of Star Wars novels basically begins with Heir to the Empire.
Okay, which I have read and didn't really care for.
Yeah, everything after that, they've managed to maintain like a reasonable air of consistency with.
So Splinter of the Mind's Eye doesn't count.
Yeah, it was written like 20 years ago.
Get over it.
I remember going to was it Walden Books back in '78, getting my greasy little hands on a copy, going, I got the Star Wars sequel in my hand. I read it. I told all the kids on the playground, I knew what Star Wars was going to end, and they're like, yeah, right, whatever. That's what we. I mean, this is again the pre-internet age. So
yeah.
Bear in mind, information was scarce back. We had Starlog magazine. Remember that, Jess?
It's still around.
Are they?
Yes.
I thought they were going under.
No.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay.
That's because you know why? Because they're a niche.
They're a niche.
Fangoria.
Starlog now is thought of as quaint, where back then it was like our internet. The monthly Starlog came out. Oh, what's next?
Yeah, but it's like with Crimson Empire, like I said, it's a work of enthusiastic fanboys. The sequel was more interesting because it actually focuses on more of the political intrigue between all the people who are trying to rule the Empire. But
now, when you say political intrigue, I assume you don't mean like trade disputes over shipping lanes and boring crap.
No, basically you've got a bunch of Imperials who basically are trying to maintain control over what's left of the Empire to the point where they've actually had to recruit alien representatives. Yeah, in order to
something
maintain
that Palpatine
control.
was very opposed to.
Yes,
he was kind of a purist sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Legal aliens?
Yes, they are.
Legal? They all have green cards. No.
Yeah, and it's just fun watching them try to maintain control, even as their rule, like the house is coming down upon them. Yeah, but it's like I said, it's okay, but not essential in any means. But
okay.
Yeah, for those of you looking for like more of like stuff without the Force, well, there's only one man you can turn to, and that is Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Oh yes, the character that rose to fame based upon. I remember the first time I even heard of Boba Fett was 1979. Kenner Action Figures had you send off so many proofs of purchase, and you got yourself a Boba Fett action figure. Mind you, at the time, Boba Fett wasn't even in a movie yet. He was in the Star Wars Holiday Special. In a cartoon sequence.
Don't remind
I'm
us,
serious,
please.
and
Yes,
that's all. That's the only appearance he made, and we all had such a boner for that character. We're like, Boba Fett,
He's a badass.
But we didn't even know anything about him yet. And then all of a sudden, Empire Strikes Back comes out, and he has like 3 lines, as you wish. You're like, wait a minute, this is the character we were all salivating for. And Return of the Jedi,
he had more than that. What's it worth to me?
Well, in Return of the Jedi, he gets sucked up by a giant, dirt worm thing, whatever the hell it was.
What, ever getting hit by freaking Han Solo by accident?
Oh, I know, yeah.
Boba Fett, where?
His backpack
Boom.
going off.
Exploded.
I mean, again, so all that build-up, we expected this Star Wars equivalent of like the Clint Eastwood Man with No Name coming into town, and it turned out to get he gets whacked by accident.
That's why. That's what he gets for aligning himself.
But of course, he has a real comeuppance in the graphic novels.
Now wait a minute. Now, that would explain why the Empire stormtroopers were such a buggling bunch of idiots.
Because they were copies of
Because
copies.
they were copies of copies. Because you have to admit, through this whole thing,
They couldn't even
the
shoot
fear
straight.
stormtroopers were a bunch of idiots.
Right.
They were, you're right. They couldn't hit shit. And the only reason that they did what they did is because they had like a lot of them.
Yes.
Numbers.
Yeah, right.
Numbers. They had numbers.
Hence the title
and they had
Stormtroopers,
really
right.
big ships. Like, come on. Other
Yeah.
than that,
Well, and it's funny because again, in the prequel trilogy, we saw they were actually good soldiers, but like you said, but they made copies of copies. There
Also-
were some errors coming in.
And also, I think at some point they actually started recruiting actual people in order to be
Yeah.
stormtroopers.
I think
Well-
the official answer was that eventually they did.
The Empire was short on numbers, so
Yeah, they
it
started-
recruiting. Well, I imagine the Clone Wars drained a lot of numbers, but it's kind of funny because again, they also lost their Kiwi accents too. You know.
Yeah.
Well, you know, at the beginning they all sounded like Django Fett, who was played by a Kiwi actor. Yeah. Now before they're all Commander over here. Now they're all like, you know, Commander over here. You know, they became Americanized. They all got their green cards.
Continue, John.
Yeah, but it's
Sorry.
interesting. Like
Sorry.
interesting. Dark Horse hasn't actually like exploited Boba Fett as much as you'd expect, though. I mean, he's basically had several one shots and one real miniseries.
Does he have more than 5 lines this time? No.
Yes. Basically, let's see. And
Just
most
making sure.
like the 2 series that I own are basically written by John Wagner, who has some experience writing Taciturn, badasses, because he's also the co-creator of Judge Dredd.
Oh no. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Not the movie. Not the
Good
movie.
Judge Dredd.
Yes. Which is called? Isn't that called 2000 AD or something?
No, that
he's-
that needs to be remade.
that's the comic book series that Judge Dredd appears in.
Okay, but now there's a Judge Dredd comic separate from that.
There's been a Judge Dredd magazine for years now.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, and
Judge Death too, didn't they?
yeah, and Wagner's wrote 3 one-shots. Let's see, Boba Fett. Let's see, Bounty on Barracuda, When the Fat Lady Swings, and Murder Most Foul, which are collected.
When the fat lady what?
Fat Lady Swings. Basically, this is
I won't go
they're
there.
collected in the paperback Death, Lies, and Treachery, which basically has Boba Fett working under the basically taking orders from this one hut in order to improve his standing with the universe.
Ah.
So basically, it's fun seeing him take on like a supposedly indestructible crime lord, rescue this one hut's wife, and then arrange for the murder of this said hut's father.
Ah.
It's fun stuff, and and Wagner he's been doing this stuff for years, so he can kind of write this stuff in his sleep. Though, and to be honest, there is a certain amount of he's writing this only to entertain himself.
Oh no.
Type appeal to this.
That's what kind of scares me though. Sometimes you get the writers who get so lost in their own, or so in love with their own prose, that you get the feeling that they're enjoying it while none of us are. I get that feeling when I read a lot of these Star Wars comics that the writers are more in love with the material than the readers are.
Yeah, Death, Lies, and Treachery not so much, because these 3 one-shots tell a nice interconnected story. The other miniseries he did, which is called called Enemy of the Empire, which has the high concept premise of him undertaking a bounty order from Darth Vader, no less.
Of course.
Yeah, and he basically he's trying to track down this one Imperial officer who basically murdered his superior and went off with this object of supreme importance, which we're not told about.
Well, he offers a what? I'm sorry.
This item of supreme importance.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Basically, it turns out to be the head of this alien race, which has precognitive abilities.
The head of
The literal head.
The literal head. That's what I thought you said. Literal head of an alien. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, she's telling this guy basically exactly what his future is going to be like. But this is the kind of future telling where what she says is going to be exactly what happens. So
They ripped this off from Jason the Argonauts, where they had the mast of Hera of the ship telling him what to do.
Pretty much. Yeah,
Rip
it's
off.
and you got some fun stuff with Boba Fett tracking him down and taking out the people who Vader orders to take him out as well. But then you also have this order of pessimists where the guy that Fett is tracking down is ordered to track down hangs out with, and they're just woe unto me. This is our lot in the universe is the most less. We're going to die no matter what happens.
Okay.
And it's that's kind of thing. It's amusing for what it is, but reading it now, everyone's this is kind of. I've read some of Wagner's Judge Dredd work, and this kind of comes off as oh, okay, this wouldn't be out of place in the Judge Dredd universe as well.
that's what makes me wonder. The writers get a little lazy sometimes, and they forget which universe they're writing for.
Yeah, it's like on one hand, it's like I don't think it gets quite to that point with his Boba Fett work, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like if you haven't read his Judge Dredd work, you're not going to notice anything.
I have to be honest about the whole Boba Fett thing. Even though I was caught up in it when I was a kid, I don't really understand what the big, boner for the character is. I mean, he doesn't. When you look at the series as the film series, anyway, he has almost nothing to do. He's little more than like a Star Trek red shirt, and yet he grew this cult following that led to all this stuff.
He's a silent badass, man.
Yeah, but he's not that bad of a badass.
Well,
he gets killed.
They just didn't fulfill the promise of being a
of
badass.
course, right.
That was the problem.
But even again,
he wasn't a red shirt.
I remember when he died like one.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay. Now, according to canon, he didn't really die that way.
Die.
Yeah, but okay. I mean, if you were going by the films
He was
only,
taken out of the picture very unceremoniously.
very much so.
Yes.
But the thing is, he has such a huge setup. I mean, I remember the figure. I went to a shopping mall once where it said Darth Vader and Boba Fett making this again. This, mind you, this is before Empire Strikes Back came out. It was like a year before. Special appearance by Darth Vader and Boba Fett, and it's just two guys in costumes. This is before cosplaying became big too. And we all went try to take pictures and stuff. I remember wasting like 4 or 5 Polaroid shots taking photos, and it's just guys in a costume. It's not the actual actors or whatever. It's just, but we didn't even know who Boba Fett was, and we were whipped up in this lather over nothing. I saw Empire Strikes Back the following year, and I was like, that's what Boba Fett is? I thought he was going to be a central character like a new Han Solo or something, but he was just, he wasn't that big a deal.
He's just the most successful of bounty hunters.
Yeah, I guess, and but
you know what else sucked? Is all those other damn bounty hunters that were out there on their little platform.
Yeah.
Yes,
and like they all
went away.
They all went away.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
and then if you wanted to know that story, you had to read.
He was a prop.
Tales of the Bounty Hunters. Story from.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess to wrap this up, I mean, to be honest, like revisiting all the Star Wars stuff hasn't been quite as painful as I was expecting.
That's painful.
Yeah, but I gotta admit that these days it's like, if I was gonna recommend anything, I'd probably recommend you check out Ostrander's Star Wars Legacy series more than anything else.
Legacy series is your personal favorite.
That sounds
pick.
pretty good to me.
Yeah, because like even if he's just reconfiguring a lot of the familiar Star Wars elements, he's at least doing so in a far more intelligent way than Lucas did with his prequel trilogy.
That's not hard to do these days.
Yeah, it's like it's maybe damning with faint praise, but hey, I'm gonna buy Volume 7 when it comes out at the end of the year.
Is anybody here watching the Clone Wars cartoons?
No,
neither am I. Okay, good. If you had told me 30 years ago when I was a kid that I would be ignoring Star Wars on television when I was an adult, I would have thought you were insane.
Yeah.
But now Star Wars is beaming into my television every week, and I don't even give a damn. How sad is that? The state of fandom in 30 years.
That's tragedy
Terrible.
right there, but
Terrible.
It's justifiable.
It's market saturation, for one thing. The Clone Wars, it's so funny, when I was a kid, when I first heard Obi-Wan speak of the Clone Wars very cryptically to Luke, and you think, wow, that must have been really cool. Well, be careful what you wish for. 30 years later, you're sick of them. It's like, okay, you want Clone Wars? I'll give you Clone Wars. We have like 2 movies, 2 or 3 cartoon series, graphic novels galore. You're like, okay, I get it. The Clone Wars were really big.
Yeah, and to be honest, like of the Clone Wars, like Ostrander didn't write all the Clone Wars stuff, but like his stuff really is the best of it.
Okay, well that's
and to be honest, like I got the first 5 volumes of Clone Wars at Comic-Con this year for half off. So really, that's and I gotta admit, like, well, this stuff is expensive, so I gotta admit, it's like check if you can find it for half price at a convention, awesome, or just like order through Amazon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So really, it's like in the end, Star Wars, it's like it's not as bad as you'd expect. Star Wars comics aren't as bad as you expect, but it's like is it something that you want to go out of your way to obtain? No, not really.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and so on that note, we're gonna call this second crossover cast, I guess. Like to an end.
All right.
Right on.